Thanks everybody for joining us. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you like to put your name or your contact information or your LinkedIn if you like, where you're from. I'd just ask that if everybody could also put themselves on mute until we begin, and then if you have questions throughout, you can put them into the chat as well. All right, what do you think, Chris? Should we get started?
We can certainly do that. All right, what do you think? Ready to go?
Yes.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Bignall. I'm the interim CEO of VVM. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us this evening. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a sincere and special thank you to all of you who made year-end donations to the organization. Obviously, they're very much appreciated, and it's really nice to see so many people supporting and validating everything that VVM stands for. We have an exciting lineup tonight. We want to really celebrate entrepreneurship, and in particular as it relates to Main Street in Springfield. As a member of VVM, I in particular, but obviously on behalf of the organization, really wants to play a small part in helping these Main Street businesses thrive, and in particular focusing on areas in which they may not have a specific expertise, and that's where the VVM mentors can really shine. And so we want to be a part of the movement to help strengthen the overall, I'll call it the business health of downtown Springfield. So with that, I will pass it over to Hope and have her go through some of the details of this evening's programming.
Thank you, Chris. And again, thank you all so much for being here and joining us. Thank you to our keynote speaker, Tim Sheehan, and our participants as well. Again, like just echoing what Chris was saying, we really wanted to celebrate businesses in downtown Springfield. So we've invited a few different businesses to come and be part of our panel today. And sorry, excuse me. Just as a little bit of information, if you are interested in working with or supporting VVM through mentorship, we are always looking for industry experts, guest specialists to be able to share their expertise with entrepreneurs, startups, small businesses. So if you are an experienced entrepreneur or you have industry specific knowledge that would be beneficial to entrepreneurs, please feel free to reach out. You can contact me at hope@valleyventurementors.org. And just if you'd like to see what VVM has going on, please feel free to contact me, and I'd love to set up a call and talk with how you could work with VVM more. So I will also be putting these links directly in the chat later on, but I wanted to remind everybody to sign up for next month's community night. Again, I'll put that link in the chat, as well as we're hosting a weekly entrepreneurial roundtable on Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on Zoom. I'll put that link as well in the chat. It's a weekly meetup to be able to come and be able to either start your business idea or scale it, level it up. It's an accountability group, goal setting, where we brainstorm challenges, network, and address challenges that we're going through, and also celebrate successes. Again, we'd love for you to connect with us on social media, as well as you can reach out to us via email. We're always available. Thank you. Just a quick agenda. We'll have our keynote speaker and then a panel. with a couple of Main Street businesses, and then we'll be closing at 6. So please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Tim Sheehan, who is the Chief Development Officer with the City of Springfield Office of Planning and Economic Development. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us.
Happy to be here, Hope. Thank you so much. And where did you get that picture?
Google Images.
Yeah, there you go. Nice to know what's out there. I'm so happy to be here tonight because to talk about a subject that I really, really like to talk about, and that is small business. Obviously, the pandemic has been in 2020 has been such a difficult year for small business. And from the city's perspective, our goal has been to try and help as many small businesses as we can get through the pandemic and, try to build a bridge to the other side of the pandemic. But, there are so many challenges to small business that confront them, even before the pandemic, and certainly will confront them afterwards. And one of the biggest challenges facing small business owners and entrepreneurs continues to be the inability to access sufficient credit and capital. Roughly 30% of small business startups run out of cash, and many small business owners struggle to provide benefits for their employees. So, those are fundamental challenges within the marketplace. And research shows that small business lending levels are still lower than they were prior to the Great Recession. Many small businesses struggle to grow and thrive, but small business investing can change that. The small business investing numbers obviously have been further exacerbated by COVID, but 90% of small business owners believe that the availability of credit is a problem, and 61% agree it's harder to get a loan than it was in 2008. In order to foster our economy and advance economic recovery out of COVID, we need to help the small business community achieve its fullest potential. It's important for investors to know that entrepreneurship is on the rise, and investments in the small business community can provide huge significant opportunity for them. So we are actually looking at trying to participate to bring some level of solution to, or at least be part of the solution to that access to credit problem for small businesses. Ewing and Marion Kaufman Foundation came back with a study that found that most small businesses feel that they're ignored by government in general. Small business owners are unhappy with the current government resources that are available to them, even given the SBA. They feel that there's support for the larger, more established businesses over their own. And as I was indicating, while Springfield certainly can't solve that problem single-handedly, we do believe the city has a big role in participating to solve the small business credit problem. As stated, entrepreneurs create more jobs than any other sector of the economy, but what many don't know is that at the forefront, they're at the forefront of an evolving landscape where brick and mortar storefronts are being replaced by online retailers, and freelancers are the new version of the 9-to-5 office worker. I mean, they're literally at the front lines of a completely changing economy. Many workers are using emerging technologies to leave the traditional workforce, and small businesses and the self-employed are leading the movement. So, the entrepreneur is not afraid of engaging with the freelance economy and stimulating innovation and entrepreneurship in ways that have never been available before. In fact, workers now represent more than 1 in 3, independent workers now represent more than 1 in 3 of those that are working in the American workforce. Their numbers are expected to continue to rise. Freelancers are expected to have a total of roughly 86.5 million and represent 50.9% of the total U.S. workforce by 2027. So there's some big changes that are happening out there, and the entrepreneurial small business marketplace, and we need, as government, need to be providing creative solutions and access to capital and being engaged. The fact that I indicated that, you know, small businesses feel like that they've been ignored by government is incredulous, given, you know, what small business is giving back to the economies of cities, states, and the nation as a whole. You know, as I was indicating to Chris before we started, the investor class certainly recognizes the importance of small business in the entrepreneurial economy. And you can see, you know, their willingness to invest. And I think, you know, the challenge is more so with, you know, the traditional lending market. So, you know, we need to work hand in hand with that lending market and, you know, the available resources for gap financing to begin to help small businesses, not only in downtown Springfield, but also in our neighborhood business districts. There are many neighborhood business districts across Springfield. So to that end, you know, I saw that Common Capital was on, and Raymond's here. Springfield has partnered with Common Capital to actually create a loan fund for small business. We've been pretty creative in terms of how we structured it, at least I think. You know, there is a traditional, you know, term loan that's associated with it that, you know, ultimately uses Common Capital's resources, but the city portion of the loan ultimately comes in, and it's meant to be very, very flexible capital in terms of meeting what the needs of that business are. And over time, the city portion of that loan ultimately can be forgiven, and provided the business maintains itself in business over a 5+ year window. So we're trying to bring forward programs that, you know, are flexible and creative, and working with others that are in the marketplace already. I'm not a big one for, you know, recreating what's already out there. I think, you know, looking at models that work and trying to incorporate them using players that are already on the field is the way to go. So, you know, and I don't need to tell you folks, I mean, what the small businesses do for the city. I mean, it creates that unique, and many of them create that unique environment, you know, that by just the products that they're selling, you know, and they provide an identity to the city that is different from any other place because their products are so unique in many cases. And the small business community, it amazes me. They're the most engaged. You don't have to reach out to them. They're going to reach out to you and tell you what their needs are. And that's a great thing. And they certainly increase community economic health. Local businesses tend to support other local businesses. And that's critically important. And you know, I looked at some studies that talked about employee satisfaction within the small business community. It's huge. I mean, if the corporate community could achieve even 2/3 of what the small business community has achieved in terms of employee loyalty and satisfaction, it would be astounding. So, you know, there's so much that they do in terms of increasing the local tax base, making sure that, you know, the money that's circulated stays circulating within the community. They create local jobs. There's so many reasons why, you know, the city is looking at this and saying, this is where we need to address a significant amount of our resources, in ensuring that the small business and entrepreneurial community is well maintained in Springfield, and as we reap their benefits, we need to step up to the plate and be a player in the game to help them thrive and develop even more of a small business and entrepreneurial community here in Springfield. As part of this process, I've been talking with VVM for, I want to say, the better part of 6-7 months. So many of the existing small businesses in Springfield, both in the downtown and in the neighborhood districts, they're small scale, but they've been in business for some time. And you know what they lack is some genuine boots on the ground technical assistance to get them up to the next level. And that's one of the issues that, you know, as I'm talking about city resources being invested, I think that we're right on the cusp of investing in a program with VVM that ultimately would allow them to be able to be that technical assistance force for small businesses. So we're trying to cover a bunch of bases, again, using the players that have the expertise and are already in the field, just providing them more resources to deal with what they see as the challenges that are out there. So with that, all I can say is that, you know, if you have ideas, if you have thoughts about how we can help, my door is always open. I'm probably one of the most accessible people to get a hold of. And I'd love to hear any ideas that you have in ways that we can participate. And again, I'm a big fan of VVM and a big fan of Common Capital as well. So I think with those types of partnerships and others, we can play a big role in this as the city of Springfield. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tim. We had a question come in for you, if you wouldn't mind. The question was whether you felt that whether access to capital is more important than the lack of creative ideas for new small businesses. And that, yeah, just kind of, if you could weigh in on that a little bit and talking about maybe what are the biggest challenges.
I'm sorry, the question was, is access to capital more of a challenge than the creative ideas?
Then yeah, maybe a lack of creative ideas.
Yeah.
Like which presents more of a challenge?
Well, in order to be successful with small business, clearly you have to have the creative idea to advance out to the marketplace. There's a lot of small businesses that haven't been formed, or a lot of creative ideas that haven't been brought to the marketplace because they've just lacked the capital to get there. And you know, I do believe that, you know, there needs to be sound business principles behind advancing a business, and essentially, you know, that product development component is fundamental to that. But assuming you can get beyond that and have something that the market actually wants and is willing to purchase, my position is, how can we help you scale up to get there and get it out to the market?
Thank you for that. We also had one more question for you, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Would you mind talking about some of the city's current initiatives and if there are any that will affect small businesses indirectly?
Yeah, as I was saying, we're right on the cusp of advancing a program with VVM to deal with, you know, the technical assistance side of the equation, to say, okay, well, you know, you've been in business for a couple of years, your sales, you know, aren't doing great. You're not going out of business, but you're not getting to your next level of where your business should be. And that's a new program that we're advancing. And as I said, you know, I'm looking at it saying, how can we help? If there's something that you think can provide assistance to the small business community, we're happy to take a look at that. But there are other players on this field, and we need to work together with them to make sure that we're getting the maximum benefit out there to our small business community.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you so much for coming, and that was wonderful to hear from you.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Okay, so now we're going to transition over to our panel. I'm going to shut my door because my son's playing basketball. I'm sorry. Okay, so I just wanted to pull back up my screen real quick. Thank you all for your patience. All right. So I just wanted to thank everybody again on our panel for joining us in the Celebrate Downtown Springfield. Today we have Nathan Costa, the president of the Springfield Thunderbirds, Julie Molinari she's the owner of 1636 North and Cantina Curbside Grill Food Truck, and Tiana Ray Burnett from the Springfield Hub. So thank you all so much for joining us. That was a really quick screen share. Okay, so I'm going to find you all and spotlight you. And thank you all again for your patience. Where are you, Tiana? I would just ask that if you are not on the panel, are you there?
And you can mute people too, Hope.
Yeah, so I think part of, if you're not on the panel, if you could come on mute, I think part of the issue is Julie is also, she's right at her. So I think that we'll experience a little bit of sound from that.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Tiana, you there?
I am. Yes, sir. Just getting situated. Hello.
No worries. Thank you. Once I get you, I'll put you on spotlight. So I was so excited to be able to bring together these different industries and these different businesses to be able to kind of talk a little bit about their entrepreneurial experience, as well as, there you are, to be able to talk about your entrepreneurial experience and how important it is, why downtown Springfield, and what makes a vibrant downtown center. And so maybe what I'll do is just ask each of you to give just a quick introduction of yourself, your business, and then we can go from there. Tiana, you want to go first?
Yes. Hi, I'm Tiana. Me and Chris Joel, we just got our storefront on Main Street in downtown Springfield. It's our second location since the start of COVID. We were in West Springfield. But with the crowd that we were serving, we already outgrew West Springfield, and like that location wasn't it. And so we found an opportunity right downtown, and it worked for us. We were able to move in. We downsized. We went from 8,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet of space. But it works a lot better, and it's a lot more accessible to the community who we're actually trying to serve. So people can come by, people are walking by, but I really think the energy in downtown is for small business and for redevelopment. There's a ton of energetic vibrations going on over there that are like really, truly inspiring. And I think that there's a lot of great things right this second developing in silence in downtown that like in the spring, and this whenever we get through COVID, right, or whatever is happening, there's just going to be a lot of things going on downtown. But that's why I like it. There's a lot of things going on. It's going to be great. So, and I'm thankful that VVM is downtown as well.
Thank you, Tiana. We appreciate you. I totally agree. We will all get through this someday and it will be beautiful. And there are so many great things happening in downtown Springfield. For those of you who were at our, I think, one of our last community nights that was a regular community night in person, you might recognize Tiana and Chris. They presented what was then Studio 235 in the pitching. And so now they've kind of evolved. They also went through the EFRL program. And so it's great to be able to have you back to come and talk about how things have evolved. And we really appreciate you being here. Julie, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Julie. I'm from 1636 North. We're out 22 Worthington Street. We also own Cantina Curbside Grill, which is our food truck. It's closed for the season, unfortunately. We've been open here for about 2 months now. The food truck's been operational since 2017. We also went through the EFRL program in Holyoke for the food truck at the time. We started off at this location as a pop-up Taco Tuesday, and eventually the place kind of fell into our laps. We took over the place right when COVID started. So it was like, all right, we're already in here. We either got to push it through or we didn't know what we were going to do. So obviously everything was delayed due to COVID. We were scheduled to open in July. We didn't open until October, and we only opened as takeout only because our sign is still not up, and we still haven't really finished the dining room. But we wanted to get the flavors out there to the people, and we wanted them to start experiencing the food. So Uber Eats and Grubhub has definitely been very helpful with that as well. But yeah, we're glad to be downtown. I've lived close to downtown most of my life. I worked for almost 10 years at Nadine's downtown, which many of you may know me from. So I'm sticking to downtown. You know, I've seen what downtown has to offer in its good days and its good years, and I know that it'll come back. Thunderbird games to the symphony shows and everything. I've seen the ups and the downs of downtown, and I'm willing to stick it out.
Thank you, Julie. I love that.
You're
That was
welcome.
awesome. And if you haven't checked out the menu for 1636 North, you have to check it out. I plugged this earlier and I'm going to plug it again. They have a 9-cheese truffle mac and cheese, amongst other things that sound amazing. I mean, talk about decadence. So please check them out. Check out their menu. Nathan, would you like to go next?
Sure. So probably a little bit different story on my end here, but I think from the beginning, you know, my name's Nate Costa, obviously I'm the president of the Thunderbirds, but from the start really took an entrepreneurial look at how we were going to build our business. Not sure if all of you guys know the backstory on hockey in Springfield, but the previous organization, the Springfield Falcons, had left town sort of in the middle of the night, were bought by the Phoenix Coyotes and moved to Tucson, Arizona. And I had spent 8 years at the American Hockey League office, which just happens to be in downtown Springfield. So similar, you know, running a similar program to this, where we were sharing best practices on the business side with every team across the American Hockey League, and Springfield was one of those. And when Paul Pignelli, the majority owner of our franchise, you know, stepped up and bought the team, I jumped at the opportunity to get in front of him. I had spent 7 years kind of grooming to be a president of an AHL team. And I thought there was a ton of opportunity in downtown Springfield. I grew up here in Springfield. I'm born and raised. I went to Cathedral High School. I grew up on Rosewell Street. So I have a familiarity with Springfield. And I always thought that the team didn't bring the full potential to what this could be. Spent a lot of time seeing what other AHL teams were doing in similar markets: Utica, New York, Syracuse, New York, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they were flourishing, and they were the centerpiece of downtown Springfield, or downtown in their market, and you know, really had a vision to do that. And when we took over, we had a very short timeline We bought the team in June, and we had to start a season in October, and we had to create a brand, and we had to hire staff, and we had to you had to figure it out in 3 short months. And so I do understand the challenges, and we run as a small business. Though we are a quote unquote professional sports team, we're backed by independent owners that are all locally based. And that was the vision of our franchise. And we run our operation as a small business. I've got 19 full-time employees when we're fully up and running. Tiana, I understand and feel your pain because I've had to lay off 13 of my staff. We're down to 6, and we don't have games, and we don't have revenue to generate, and we're trying to get through this time. And we've been really focused on our community efforts and trying to keep the business in the forefront. But I do have similar thoughts that I think we saw what we were able to accomplish and what the entire downtown Springfield was accomplishing back before this happened in March. Like we got out in front of MGM coming downtown, and I really thought that we could turn the corner. And I think we were able to prove that over the last 3.5 years. We went from averaging 2,500 in attendance to 5,000 in attendance. We've been recognized on the marketing and business side, and that's really what drives what we do. The hockey is secondary. We market like we're a small business. We sell like we're a small business, and that's what's really driven us. Our sales team getting out and having boots on the ground and having a plan to not just open the doors and hope people are going to come out, but provide an experience that people were going to get excited about, give my sales team something to sell, and have them get out, knock on doors, ring, 50 phone calls a day, and, really set the foundation, because that was some of the stuff that just wasn't happening. So anyway, the long story short, this is now should be our 5th year. I'm sure some of you have seen that the American Hockey League is going to play this year. We decided last week that we were going to not play. And that was strictly a business and safety decision, a hard one to make, but one that we needed to make for the long-term viability of our franchise, similar to what I think everybody in downtown Springfield is trying to do right now. We're in a very similar position, but I do have a lot of confidence and a lot of faith that there's going to be a ton of pent-up demand. And I think we're very well positioned as a unit here in downtown Springfield to really, I think, be the light that this region needs to come back from this. And we're excited about being a part of that, and hopefully bringing thousands of people downtown that are hopefully going to stop in at Julie's establishment and Tiana's establishment and every other establishment downtown, and do what we're supposed to do here, which is put a spotlight on our community and do it in the right way.
Thank you, Nate. That was great. Can you talk a little bit more about ways in which you've partnered with other restaurants or businesses in the downtown area, or ways in which organizations like yours can do such, and how that can help leave a bigger impact in the city?
It's a little bit unique, probably, right? I don't think everybody has the resources that I do, but we've really made an effort to try to partner with local downtown establishments and drive business to them, either before or after our games. And I think Julie can probably attest with her experience at Nadim's. We worked hand in hand with them and tried to provide opportunities for our fans to get on over there and either have a drink or have dinner afterwards. We're partnered with a lot of downtown businesses. Red Rose is not only an owner, but they're also a partner of ours, Theodore's. And it's just trying to come up with ways to drive people to to create an experience, right? Like, I think for us, it's not just about coming down and buying a ticket and going to a hockey game. I think for us, we're trying to keep people downtown longer. So, if we can have a trivia night at Theodore's before the game, and they can go and have a drink and have a bite to eat and then come to our game, enjoy themselves here, and then, continue their night. I think that's at the end of the day what we were trying to do. We really put a lot behind Friday nights and spending money on live entertainment. That was a big thing that we had heard before, was that a lot of artists that are in the marketplace were not getting paid. So on Friday nights, we were doing concerts before our games in the concourse from 6 to 7. We were giving these guys an opportunity to come out, get some exposure, but then also do a gig that night. And the whole idea was, why don't you come on and start your night with us, and then hopefully go to a game, and then go, to another establishment afterwards. So we hope that we're able to do that kind of stuff through creative programs like that. But I understand that not everyone's able to do those types of things. But like for us, it's a really important part of what we do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Tiana, would you mind telling us a little bit more about your space? It's such an amazing
Yeah.
space, and kind of what you have to offer there, because I'd love for people to be able to hear about that.
Right. So we're right next to Mass Mutual in the Marketplace building, and it's a storefront. So we have rentable photography space and videography space, and then we have rentable storefronts for pop-ups. Any pop-up boutique market, anyone who wants to put in their product, their merch, resell it. And then we have a workshop space where we do yoga. We have community-based workshops. And we have one coming up actually on January 30th, which 1636 North got sponsored to provide all of our food for. So that's happening. If anyone wants to come or to be involved with that in some way, feel free. And also on January 20th, we're teaming up with Nosh. Nosh is right next to us. And Terry wants to host something for the inauguration where her entire staff pauses and everyone can appreciate what's happening. And Hope and VVM are going to give us some TV screens so that we can stream it for everyone to see. Nosh is going to have their guests and everyone kind of gathered outside. They just made new fire pits. So we'll be able to see those and have people together during lunchtime on, it's a Wednesday, I think, for inauguration. So also, if you want to do that, come over, we'll be outside.
Sounds amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I put the contact information for all of our panelists, as well as the links for their websites in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to them as well. If you have questions, or feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to, your little blue computer hand, or you can pop your questions into the chat as well. So I think that you all kind of touched on this a little bit. I think there's a lot of history here with downtown Springfield, and people kind of mentioned this and hinted at it, but I would love for anybody who really wants to speak up a little bit more on why downtown Springfield and what downtown Springfield has to offer, and also as well as maybe what are some of the challenges that you experience as an entrepreneur in downtown Springfield. So I don't know, jump up at once, but you feel free to raise your hand.
For me, downtown is meaningful because I moved to Springfield from Puerto Rico when I was 6 years old, and this is where we settled. So all I've ever really known is Springfield. I mean, I remember Puerto Rico somewhat, but I was 6, so it's not much. I used to go back every year, but Springfield is home to me. So that's why I decided to stick to having my business in Springfield. The name 1636 North comes from the history of Springfield. Springfield was founded in 1636. So most of the decor in the restaurant features images of Springfield dating back to 1902. So we wanted to kind of showcase the history of Springfield within our own establishment. I think one of the challenges would definitely be capital. Pretty much, especially since the pandemic started, before we had the food truck operational, it was a lot easier handling both businesses. But now with the food truck being closed for the season and this being our only source of income is tough because we're pretty much running everything on cash. We only have one staff, which is just our chef, and I answer the phones and I do everything else, which I'm used to and I enjoy, but eventually I'm gonna have to it's getting to the point where I can't physically do everything myself. So staff costs money, and that goes hand in hand with that as well. I think another issue specifically pertaining to Springfield would probably be parking. I feel like a lot of people usually complain about the parking situation, but I mean, it's Springfield, you can't really do much about it. But I feel like that's probably one of the major challenges that as a restaurant like on Worthington Street that we deal with.
I appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go next if you like. You know, I think for me, again, I think some of the same types of things. I was from here and I really wanted to bring life back to hockey in Springfield. You know, it was really tough to go to hockey games before and see the building not full and not having the energy that it should. And that was something that was really important to me. And really being able to do something to give back to the community and bring pride back to what professional sports used to mean to Springfield. I think that was at the end of the day what was really driving my decision on you know, deciding to come and run a team here. In addition, like I hear Julie on the challenge of parking. You know, that's been something that we've been working with the city on, which has gone very well actually. And the parking garage across the street, which is a little bit beyond its life, is in process of being redone, which is going to be a huge thing, I think, not only for me, but hopefully for the businesses at the marketplace and for the people that have their businesses downtown so that there's easy access. I agree. I think that's key. We deal with a lot of challenges now where if there isn't parking, I worry that people come down and they look and they see the parking is full and then they just turn around and head on out because it's a challenge. And especially on some of the big nights, you know, we were getting to the point to where downtown was a bustling destination, right? MGM was full. We'd have a concert at Symphony. There'd be a convention going on in the convention center. We'd have a game. And the parking, the traffic was a bit of a challenge. And you like to see that, right? You like to see life and you like to see activity. But I think once people waited to get to where we were, and if it was full, they had already waited for a bit of time and they would move on to the next thing. So that was a challenge. And the perception, I think there was a perception at the beginning of this, maybe a couple of years ago in 2016, of it not being necessarily safe downtown. I don't find that to be the case. I never found that to be the case. I've been working down here for over 10 years and I haven't had a problem one time. And I think that's just a perception of things. And I think the media has done a good job of changing that perception. We don't hear that much anymore. You know, especially towards our last year there, it wasn't, the narrative wasn't around that. The narrative was very positive. So I think, you know, in the long run, those were some of the challenges that we dealt with, but dealt with them head on and tried to find solutions. And I think that the city in general is in a good place to really do that moving forward.
I don't want to hone in on the panel, but I would like to address, you know, issue relative to the challenges. One of the things I kind of see going forward is the need to look at what we have as regulatory controls and ensure that those regulatory controls are actually supportive of small business, as opposed to, you know, not being supportive. And I'll take one example. I mean, we had an outdoor dining regulation, and the way that outdoor dining regulation was structured, there were 2 licenses that went out for outdoor dining. And, you know, when we had to respond to COVID and try to increase the amount of space that restaurants could use, we began to free all that up and realizing, you know, the positive synergy that brings to the street in terms of its activity. We need to engage with that and ensure that, you know, that particular example in terms of outdoor dining is clearly destined to change because of our experience with outdoor dining during COVID. But there's so many other regulatory controls that I think, you know, are not as business friendly as they could be. And I also think, you know, our planning activities, you know, need to engage more with small businesses to understand, you know, from a whole urban planning perspective, how our plans can ultimately assist the businesses that are there to do more and impact more positively the pedestrian foot traffic that you're getting. So I think those are two big challenges, you know, that both the city and the small business community can work on together.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
that was great. I actually, I was gonna say something in line with that. I think there's not enough going on in Springfield. I mean, I know it's COVID. I know it's crazy. But we've been finding ways to still maintain with the guidelines for those who do feel safe going out, but also everything has been taken virtual. But what we need to do, we actually just came together with the ethnic study and La Diaspora in Chicopee to talk about how we would come together to develop the community more. And there's a bunch of murals around, you know, there's walking points. I feel like people got to get used to walking again. Like there's not enough stuff going on downtown. I don't want to walk around downtown because you got to go blocks. So if there were things going on, people wouldn't hesitate parking at MGM to walk all the way down Main Street, to go over to 1636, you know, to get around to all these places. If all of like, you see how many empty storefronts are downtown? Like I don't want to walk through barren storefronts. That looks crazy. But with the activation of that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to push that more. Just as long as we can obtain space, we can get programming going and maintain a safe regulation, like however safe COVID is. But we put everything online too. So I think adding that element allows people to even recognize that there is still life downtown. You can still do that. People, at least everyone that has come into our space, says that they've never walked down that street before because there's nothing to do in Springfield. They've never seen, they didn't even know that that building was there. And they're like, wow, this is a perfect spot, you know? So it's like, if there's a more walkable culture of things happening downtown, people would feel more comfortable parking longer distances. It would relieve the parking stress, you know, like there's free parking at MGM. I get ticketed all the time parking at the hub, you know, but it's annoying, but like I could park at MGM. But there's free parking that exists no matter what time of the day. And so I feel like if we can all work together on a plan, at least to inform everyone about what's going on. Springfield Bid is open to hosting whatever event we have on their community calendar, which is perfect. It fills a gap for what we needed at least. But we're trying to just raise awareness of what everyone is doing so that people have a reason to come and stay longer, you know? That's what I have to say. So it's kind of a solution, but also.
And I think part of that too is that there's not enough, there aren't enough people living downtown either, you know, like
right, yeah.
young professionals. And I think that's something that I know the city's working on, but that's something that's a challenge for us. Like no one's walking to our game from downtown Springfield,
right?
Which is challenging. Like, you know, other bustling downtowns, that's where they're getting the runoff of 1,000 people walking up on a game night. They're walking by saying, oh, look, there's a game happening. Like that was starting to come around. And I think there's a lot that will come, but like you said, now it's COVID has ravaged that piece of it as well.
Right. And as far as living downtown, I want to live downtown more than anything. I'm currently relocated in Boston right now, but even out here, I'm like, I'm going to sell my car and just walk around and see how to utilize cities, because that's all I want to do in Springfield. I want to be able to walk down, because I walk back and forth from the hub to VVM, and then on the other side where the ethnic study is, like I do that whenever I'm downtown. I don't want to have to drive 20 minutes to go home, you know? So I think bringing more living spaces too, and like, but also along with that, the programming. So to show that we do things for the people that do want to move in, I think it's a good chemistry that can be created, but definitely more people need to live downtown and like walk in downtown.
I completely agree. And it's amazing to think about how all of these different types of things that are happening, and the more that we can all kind of collaborate, work together, and inter-refer or promote one another's ideas, whether it's restaurants or services or small business support or professional sports. You know, there's so many great things that are happening in the downtown area, and so many ways in which we can all collaborate and work together to be able to improve what's going on. And I appreciate so much your perspectives. I did just want to point out that in the chat, there's been a lot of great resources. Molly from the Mass Small Business Development Center put her information and information about Mass Growth Capital grants that are available, and there's a deadline coming up. So please check the chat so that you don't miss out on that. I'll save it as well. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to, come off mute? We have a couple more minutes before we wrap up. So if anyone has a question for the panel, I'd love for you to come off mute and ask.
I had more of a comment, but Tiana,
Okay.
when you said that, where was this? That all these things are happening downtown, developing in silence. I thought that there's a lot of truth to that, and there's all these little pods around, and you're starting to see it when you make the walks. And I think, like Nathan said, we were really on a roll, and we were really getting to a pretty cool place. There was, I work at Focus Springfield Community TV across the street from Mass Mutual Center, and it was very cool, whether it was convention or hockey game or the conglomeration of all of them. I think that it was really starting, and I think that the perception is a word that kept coming up, and people have such a, there was a perception years ago that it was a dangerous place. Luckily, that's ameliorated and been proven, not to be real. And then the other thing is that parking. I worked in Boston for 4 years. I will never complain about parking in Springfield. So people can, if you can walk 6 blocks, it's good for you to walk off that beer or whatever macaroni and cheese you might have just had. But those are perceptions that we have to somehow fight. But this was great. It was really grateful that you guys put this together.
Yeah, I would like to admit something. I didn't fully grasp that I was on a panel. I thought you just asked me to hop on this call. I'm like, oh, of course, I'd love to be on it. And then I see my name on the slide. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a panelist. But it's lovely to be here, everyone.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Not have communicated that well.
You crushed it, Tiana.
Thanks, guys.
We should have said that I explained it so well.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you did a great job.
Yeah. I'm glad I did, because I cried. So I probably would have been worse if I had to think about that first. So, yeah, but cool. This was really cool, guys. Nathan, can you come to the hub? Can we bring the Thunderbirds in there to do a photo shoot?
Yeah, when the team actually gets to Springfield,
Yeah,
I will do that.
we'll bring the
We worked with last year and the year before. I think we did a couple of yoga classes with our team over with.
Oh, I was told that. Yes.
The group that was in there before you, I think, right?
Yeah.
I forget their names, but and then
yeah, no, they had the yoga studio too, and we were told that. So I've been trying to actually connect with you to see if you guys want to come over and do yoga outside or something.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately, this year our team, we're partnered with the St. Louis Blues, and so unfortunately this year they're not in town yet.
Oh, okay.
Because we're not playing. But once we get into the summer, we'll definitely do that. And I don't know if you remember, we were doing Thunderbird Thursdays with the bid and also the marketplace, and we were trying to do happy hour type beer drinking events to try to get people to come downtown around after work. And those are the kind of things that we want to get back to doing when we can again.
Right.
Unfortunately, everything that we do is about people connecting and coming together and doing that stuff, and we haven't been able to do it for the last year, which is not fun.
Yeah. Have you guys talked to White Lion? Ray is sponsoring our mental health event too. He's giving us some beers from across the street too. So,
yeah.
But I think definitely in the summer, to do activities outside, because we are right next to you.
Yeah.
We're right next to the bid. But yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Activating that marketplace space is really important.
Yeah. Can we get a jersey so I can put it in the store?
Sure.
Where? Okay. Perfect.
Let's connect after this.
For sure.
You want one
Julie,
too?
I don't know if I'm going to meet you January 30th. Are you going to be there?
I will be here. I'm always here.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the men's mental wellness day is January 30th, but our food is coming from you.
Yep.
So. But yeah, beautiful.
Links for that or anything, please feel free to send them, put them in the chat, and or you could send them to me. I can send them out to everybody as well.
Everything I do is a Facebook event, but it's called Men's Mental Wellness Day on January 30th. If you guys want to go check it out.
Will you throw your Facebook handle in the chat, please?
I will.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say once again to our panel and to everybody who came and supported our event and came down and supported downtown Springfield. VVM, we're so happy to be a part of this thriving community. And I know that right now during COVID, it's really been challenging for everybody, small businesses, organizations, individuals. And I know that we'll all get through it together, and I can't wait for summer. And I'm definitely down for some of those outdoor events. So thank you all so much.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Nate, I feel your pain. Certainly VVM superpower is bringing people together, and that's something we haven't been able to do for going on 9 months as well. So hopefully we all get back to normal, whatever that new normal is going to be, sooner than later. Tim, thank you very much for your keynote, and look forward to working with you and the Main Street businesses in the new year.
You're so welcome. Again, just doing roundtables with, different small businesses, I think would be great to have the city, participate in those discussions and hear what the issues are more directly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Well, I think Hope and I normally stick around for a little bit if anybody would like to chat. Otherwise, you are free to leave. Thanks very much for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.